Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Here we are. It is finally the day we are celebrating all together the launch of Around the World in 250 co-working spaces. I am super emotional, super excited to be here. It has been quite a journey, so being here with you all today online feels super special. So thank you for connecting and thank you for being with us for this special celebration. For those of you who do not know me yet, my name is Pauline Roussel and I will invite Dimitar to join me for a few seconds. Hey Dimitar, are you here?
Hello, do you hear me?
Yay! Hello!
Yeah.
Here we are. So I'm Pauline Roussel, and this is Dimitar in Chef. We are the co-author of Around the World in 250 co-working spaces. But today we will be your MCs. I think Dimitar, you will be at the technique.
Yeah, I'll be managing like everyone that's coming on stage and off stage and putting up slides and notes. But when people have questions for me, I'll jump back in and answer them.
Yeah, and I will be the main MC, if I can call myself this way, driving you guys around this incredible journey. Dimitar, I'll let you go for now, but I'll see you in a bit, okay?
Cool. See you
See you.
guys in a bit.
So, what will happen today, guys? We are going to divide the time we are going to spend together and the little celebration in three main different sections. During the first section, we will actually talk a little bit more about Around the World in 250 co-working spaces, mainly how we ended up writing a book about co-working. Then later on, you are going to meet some of the people and companies who have highly contributed to the project and really supported us in making it happen. And last but not least, we will invite some of the spaces featured in Around the World in 250 co-working spaces to join us on stage so they can share part of their stories, some insights, and we can also celebrate with them this big achievement. Um, we also want you guys to interact as much as possible with us, with the speakers, and with everyone you're going to meet. But how does that work? So, right now, while you're watching, you might see under your screen this box that I'm showing here with the cursor, where you can add any questions or any comments that will be brought up to the screen for us to ask the speakers. So, it's very easy, just add your name. Add your comment or question. If, for instance, you would like to try it right away, you could, for instance, share the flag where you're watching the live from. So you can add the country where you're tuning in. But if you want, you can also share the co-working space you work for or the co-working space you use. You can share right away the link of your co-working space. Any comments you feel like writing, please do so now. If you feel like testing, and then, of course, across the presentation, you can use it as much as you want. There is no limitation. Don't share just questions, but as I said earlier, comments are also to be shared in this little box. Um, Before we start diving deeper into the story, for those of you who love sharing as much as we do, you can take pictures of the live happening today. You can then share them. If you share them on social media, don't forget or don't hesitate to add the handle at Coworkies. This is where we are across all socials at Coworkies. And if you want, you can also hashtag AW250CS, which is the handle of the book. And by doing so, it will allow us to see what you're posting about us, and we would love to reshare and repost the content you're going to put out there. So thanks in advance for all of you guys who will be sharing this special moment online on the World Wide Web. How did we structure this presentation? Well, for the first part, we've used questions that people often ask us related to the project. And the first one that we often get asked is, why did you decide to write a book about co-working? Which is a great question. To answer that, we need to travel a little bit back in time, more precisely in 2015. At the time, Dimitar and I met in a co-working space in Berlin, which you can see on pictures right here. I was the general manager of the space, and Dimitar was working for a startup accelerator sitting within that space. And when we were looking at people interacting with each other on a daily basis, we realized how much value, how much content was created every day, not just between the members, but also between people who were coming from outside for events. There was a lot of things going on, from startups being fundraised in the millions to TV shows coming to film people, companies starting, being acquired, failing, celebrating failures, many, many things. And we were like, okay, if there is that much going on in the co-working space where we are, then what's the daily life looking like in other co-working spaces around us? And beyond that, we also wondered what kind of impact co-working has on people who use it or who use co-working spaces, but also on cities. And to start finding answers to our question, at first, we went around Berlin because at the time the collaborative scene or the co-working scene in Berlin was very open and still is. So it was kind of easy for us to go around and meet co-working spaces to discuss with them about those questions. We went to see co-working spaces started by and for musicians, for parents, and or co-offices, so cafe and co-working. And throughout our conversations, we realized how unique and how different but everybody is, but also how much impact there is created everywhere across the city. And one day, actually at one of those breakfasts, this was our Friday breakfast organized in the space, one founder from a co-working space in Italy came and told us, well, if you ever want to come to see what we do, because we have an educational component to our space, you're more than welcome to visit us. We took his words, we booked a ticket on Ryanair and went to Milan. And because we knew we were going to meet him, we also reached out to other co-working spaces. If some of them are watching that now, hi guys, and thanks again for having us back then. Just because we were curious to discover what was going on in Milan at the time. And although it's like all in Europe and everything, it was so different. Berlin as a co-working scene was so different than Milan. And so it triggered our curiosity to keep on traveling. So what we did basically over the last 5 years, we've taken many transportation modes, from trains to tuk-tuk, cars, airplanes, boats, and whatnot. And we've actually visited 435 co-working spaces. You can see some of the selfies we've taken with all the people we've met. This is just a little part of it. And we've been around 48 cities, so all the way from Tokyo, Mumbai, Bangkok, to many places in Europe and as far as New York. And along the way, as the number of co-working spaces we visited started to grow, 50, 100, 150, there is one sentence in particular in New York, and I believe at the time we had already seen 150 co-working spaces. We met Thomas Yonka, and Thomas, if you're watching this, hello, and again, thank you for that great conversation we had back then. We were telling our story to Thomas and everything we had seen visiting so many co-working spaces already. And at the end of our conversation, he said, wow, you guys have seen so many things. I would love to kind of take the time to read it. Why don't you just write a book? And we didn't go home and be like, yeah, let's do this and all, but it definitely planted a seed in our heads. And after the conversation we had with Thomas, we started to hear this sentence more and more and more from people who were saying it very naturally or just jokishly, like, hey, so when is the book coming out? And we're like, okay, there is something there. And at the same time, when we were traveling, our mission, our personal mission was getting clearer and clearer. We were like, why are we doing this? And we understood we were in such unique position, having met so many co-working spaces all over the world, having talked to so many people involved in the co-working industry, and being able to connect everyone. We were like, okay, how can we help and make co-working better? How can we help the industry constantly bettering itself by connecting people, by fostering collaboration and allowing conversations to happen? And thinking about the book, we thought this was actually a great point, a great starting point and a great vehicle for that. So we decided to make it happen. And just like that, the idea of making this little guy right here just came to life, and we went on and did it. So what's the idea behind the book is also a question we often get asked. And of course, when we started working on the on the idea and be like, okay, what do we want this book to be? We wanted to have a purpose behind it. We didn't want to make a book just for the sake of making a book. So we thought, okay, what's the purpose of Around the World in 250 co-working spaces? And the first thing we thought was like, we want this book to inspire the curious. And by curious, we mean people who have heard about co-working, but they're not very sure what it is exactly. We wanted them to be able to have that book and understand what co-working is. Then we thought they are seekers, so people who are co-working founders, co-working teams, they are people involved in the co-working industries or using them on a daily basis. And maybe they want to know how they can do things better for themselves, for their communities. So we also want to do the book for them, and we also want to have insights in the book that will benefit them. And last but not least, we also wanted to encourage the indecisives. We know that not everybody is yet converted to co-working, and we thought maybe the book could be a great starting point for them to understand what co-working is all about, and for them to understand how co-working can potentially work for them, or how they can find communities that would excite them to start discovering co-working. And so that's pretty much the three purposes we sticked and we put behind the book. Of course, the book is now filled with 250 unique stories that are told by founders and their teams. Those are people we've met and interviewed personally. And I really want to thank them again for their openness during the interviews we had with them, because thanks to the conversations we had, the book is really, what we say, full of stories you just can't Google. When we wrote the book, we knew we wanted to stray away from marketing messages. So when we interviewed founders and their teams, we really asked them the questions about who they are, what's their background, and how did they end up in the co-working world. But also, why did they choose that particular name for their space? What's the story of their building? We were looking for all the little tiny things that make their story so special and so unique. And we are over the moon that in the book today, you have 250 of those. We also wanted for the book to be like big and have an impact. We also thought we need to involve companies who are adding tremendous value to the industry, and companies who have extensive knowledge on certain topics, because that could benefit co-working spaces, and that could benefit them in becoming better or learning new ways to do things. And so we are delighted and very excited that Salto, which is an access control system company that you will very soon meet over here, joined us to co-create a case study related to technology and using technology in the right way to enhance and better the member experience at work. We also partnered with Kinarps, which is a Swedish furniture company, and together with them, we wrote a case study discussing how good interior design can really support and facilitate connections, collaborations between people. And last but not least, we also wrote a case study plugged to our consulting company, which is called 250.co, where we usually help companies to understand co-working, but we also work with co-working spaces for their operational or community strategies. And in the book, we share a use case called Workspace in the Making, 4 key elements that defines your uniqueness. And it is based on a future of work lab we tried to build in Berlin. And it is a little bit of our reflection on the whole process and what it took. We also added 8 initiatives in the book that we launched across the last 5 years, and that we believe are aiming at making co-working better. I'm not going to talk about the 8 of them, but I wanted to highlight 2 of them. The first one is Hot Water Podcast, which is a podcast we launched during the pandemic. It is about community, entrepreneurship, and workspaces. It is available across all platforms. So if you are a podcast lover, please go and follow us, subscribe to our channel. There are already quite a few episodes available, and we will be publishing and releasing quite a few in the coming month, with S in the end. And a lot of them will also be connected to stories featured in the book. And another initiative we've launched, and some of you might know it, is called Hack Coworking, which is a member-driven innovation event, a hackathon where we invite coworking users and coworking operators to build the better future at work. We did our first event in 2019, which was in person in London. And in 2020, because of the pandemic, we did it online. And we are coming back 2021, 2022 with yet another version of Hack Coworking. And if you want to know more, you can go on hackcoworking.com. Another question people very often ask us is, can you talk to us about the creation process? It's a very interesting question because creating a book is very hard, and the creation process was very special for us. We enjoyed it very much. And before even involving any designers, we were like, okay, what design story do we want to tell through the book? The first one, we wanted around the world in 250 co-working spaces to be paper first, which means we didn't want to create any ebook, and there is no ebook at the moment available, because we thought that when you want to learn about co-working today, you go online and there's so much content already for you to read, but there's very little content in the shape of a book. And we wanted to offer people who would buy this book an opportunity to take the time out of the computers, out of any screens, and reflect on what co-working is, learn what co-working is, and have this very special moment and this special journey for themselves. Then we wanted the book to be colorful. We didn't immediately chose yellow, but we wanted the book to catch eyes of people who would see it somewhere. Be it in a co-working space, in a cafe, in a showroom. We just wanted it to be very, very colorful. So you'd be like, what's that? And yellow turned out to be quite a good color for that. And then, of course, we wanted the product to be beautiful right from the cover, because we understood also that the book would be displayed in different places like cafes or co-working spaces. And we thought it needs to fit everywhere and just be like this beautiful coffee table book, and also one that would surprise readers when they first receive it. And actually, since we've started shipping the books now, when people write us, wow, I really didn't expect it to be this way, we are like, okay, so maybe we did quite some good job in that regard. But of course, who better than Madalena, who is our creative head behind Around the World in 250 co-working spaces, to talk about the creative process. So I would love to invite Madalena and Dimitar in. Are you guys here with me today?
Hey, I'm here. I think we're still waiting for Madalena
Okay.
to come.
Yeah, I'll just
Yeah.
drop a line.
But if people have questions, they can just add them to the box. If you don't see others' comments, you can just refresh the page, I think, and then they'll start automatically loading.
Okay.
I'm very happy to see people from Sofia, Edinburgh, New York, Slovenia, Berlin, Helsinki, Italy, Turkey, Japan. It's really, really nice to see everyone.
Ooh, so many people. That's so cool.
Yeah. So if you have questions, we can start there. And maybe before Madalena joins in, I can talk a bit more about how we came to just do the design with her.
Yeah.
As in the beginning, we had a different design story and different thinking. And constantly during the pandemic, of course, we had to redo the book, rewrite all the content, and we were thinking, okay, the book needs like a design that reflects that. And at some point, I watched a documentary about Dune, the movie, but the first one that didn't get made. But the director there talks about finding your spiritual warriors that need to work with you to make a project really successful and what it is. And in conversation with Pauline, we really were thinking like what kind of books we liked that we have. And one of them was Madalena's book. Like she was the designer of the book that we bought in Lisbon at the time.
In a
And
bookstore.
when we discussed this among ourselves, we really thought like, okay, let's reach out and see if she can help us do that. And I think, Pauline, you reached to her to at least 5 platforms and she was not getting back to you.
Yeah,
And Pauline was like,
exactly.
"Oh, maybe she's too busy or whatever." And I was like, "No, like keep pushing." And where did you write her on Instagram
On
at the end?
Instagram,
Or
I write her on. Yeah, Instagram was the place where I could, but before that, I tried so many places. So yeah, that was a journey also. Hey,
yeah,
Madalena, there she is.
hey.
Hi, sorry.
So it was great at the end to connect and discuss it, and we were really happy to have her on board and help us with this outstanding design. And yeah, it was really nice to have someone experienced.
Yeah, and actually, Madalena, I wanted to ask you something. Can I start by asking you? So, what was your understanding of co-working prior to designing the book? Have you tried any space like that before?
Actually, not. It was very interesting that you approached me because I was working at the time at home, as everybody knows. It was during the first pandemic, and uh, I was used to work only in a studio or freelancing alone at home. The only kind of remotely close thing as a co-working space I've worked at was after college within a studio with some friends within the faculty itself,
Mm-hmm.
which is really interesting because of how the dynamics of everyone can influence each other and how your understanding of your work grows. But it was really with you guys that I learned the immensity of this world and all it has to offer. It's really interesting.
And I know that you have the book next to you, so can you maybe present it all together with Dimitar? I think maybe Madalena, you can talk about the cover, and then Dimitar, you can take over and talk about the tag reading system.
Yes. So let me just open it. I have it protected. I'm really worried.
Yeah.
It's a treasure. So our book. Uh, can you see it?
Yeah, we
So
see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
about it. Um, just in general, the approach to this book was to make a kind of a hybrid between a coffee table book, like a big book on a theme, which is a coffee table book. Usually, it's not portable. It's something that you swift go through and calmly read the contents, but mixed with a travel guide in sorts, because obviously we're going around the world in 250 spaces. So it has this very information heavy side to it. We have a lot to read, a lot to know. So we wanted to give it the power and weight, like physical weight, because it is a big book of a
Yeah.
coffee book, but also it slides in terms of playfulness and just go. The stories are really personal and really honest. It's really interesting, this duality of concepts, and we approach the cover kind of in the same manner. So basically, there are a lot of possibilities when doing a cover for a book, and here we knew that we couldn't represent specifically one space or one type of space, because we have to represent them all equal, and we have to give an idea of what this universe is. So to spark curiosity on the potential reader, we did this kind of multi-layered cover.
Yeah.
It makes the reader go through it and unveil it and kind of unpack all of this information. We have the title here. It's hard to see because it's embossed here with the light, but we have the title embossed in the cover in yellow. So you have this bright color, pop of color at first. You can kind of see behind the cities coming through, and in the counter cover.
Yeah.
And then we close it off with a ribbon or a sleeve of little hints of what the main themes are covered that are covered in this book, like traveling, design, technology. Because the cool thing about working in a universe as co-working is that you put your toes in almost every kind of work, every kind of field, and that's what's interesting in design too. You can basically get to know a lot of different people and jobs and areas. So basically, we came up with this idea of having a reverse flap. Usually, books with flaps are folded in, obviously.
Yeah.
And what we did was, excuse me,
We reversed engineered it.
we did a regular book, but we folded the front flap. I'm sorry, the front flap
Yeah.
around, which really, it's a very simple, very easy way to make something a little bit more interesting and deep in a way, because you have to get in there and explore it by your hands, like you have to
Exactly.
explore the book in the inside as well, because it's very, like I said, information heavy, but layered or sequenced in a very dynamic and rhythmic way, with different stories, different length stories, a lot of images. We have some specific solutions, like having this navigation bar,
Yes.
cities and Instagram handles, so you can just look around to see which city you want to check. We have, I don't know if you've talked about the indexes. We have 2 indexes that also allow us to explore
Navigate.
ways, which was really one of the ideas. It's not a book to be read from front to end. It's, you can open up in any page and then go from there, or you can look for a specific city, look for a specific idea of co-working. It's really to be explored, and yeah, that's it, I think.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madalena, for sharing. Dimitar, maybe just because I want to stay on time. Can you just briefly talk about the tag system, how people can explore the book through tags, because you came up with this idea?
Yeah, do you want to flip through the pages of the presentation about the book, or?
So those are like more the inspiration boards that Madalena made. So that's like the creation process of like all the iterations we went through at the beginning, when we were like, okay, what should we do for the cover? Which color should we try and explore? So that's the 2 slides I put together. But I think for the reading the tags, so it's like the page 18 and 19 that people who have the book now can read. Just
Right.
explain maybe, Dimitar, a bit how this works.
Well, first I want to thank you too for agreeing with me on this one, because when I presented, I think it was a bit messy, and I knew that there's a way for us to sort all the stories. And from working with blogs, I see that many of the blogs you can access them through tags. Like each blog can have like a different tag, and that way you can just access topical information. And we really thought that this book, the best benefit of it to the reader is when the reader wants to get specific information on a topic. And this way you can read the story 5 times, but in 5 different ways. And I worked the whole day to come up with a formula on Google Sheets that can sort all the spaces based on like the tags we have. And I think it came up really well, and the reader can travel in their own way by building a journey that fits to their own needs, like how they want to access the information or what kind of information they want to access. And I'm happy that this added one more way for browsing a book, and we stray away from just like a normal, I want to go to a city or just want to go to a alphabetical order of spaces, because at the end of the day, this means nothing, like it gives no context on what can you expect from a story. But when you approach a story from the thinking and the mindset of like, I want to learn about sustainability, then when you read the story, you really think about how the space that you read about did something, and then you can think like, can you apply this for your situation, or how you can tweak it to apply it for your situation. So I think tags were a nice touch for people.
And before we let Madalena go, I know it's a bit short, but we have Christian, I think, soon waiting for us. Is there, Dimitar, some questions about the whole design process, maybe from the participants?
No, for now,
Okay,
people are
well,
just mostly excited and say hi
okay,
to everyone. So,
nice.
greetings
And
to everyone that's watching.
Thank you
yeah,
so
and
much.
one thing I wanted just to say that Madalena started to explain is that we knew that because of the content of the book, people might not read all the pages, which is why when you flip it this side, you can see already you have, if you, we thought if you read only 25 pages, you should already be able to travel across all corners of the globe. So the stories are mixed and it's not like first Europe, then Americas, then Africa, like everything is mixed. So people can really have interesting mix of stories from all over the world, whether they read everything or just 5 of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, Madalena, thank you so much for being with us today.
Maybe one more
I'll
thing. One more
go
thing.
for it.
At the back of the sleeve, we've put a space for people to write down their stories so they can make their own journey, really their own journey. And yeah, if you fill this in, like please take a photo and scan that QR code there and send it to us. We would love to know what's your personal journey around the world of co-working spaces, at least on a book, but
Yeah.
still.
And any other little touches you enjoy from the book, guys, please don't forget to tag us along on social media so we can see it.
Yeah. And again, a big thank you to Madalena because like
Yes,
this
of
book
course.
is what it is in big part because of you. And
Yeah.
thank you for being part of it. Yeah.
Thank you for including me. As you know, it's
Yeah.
been a long journey and it's been really, really interesting. And I've grown in a lot working with you guys, learning about co-working. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I'm really happy with the result and
Yeah.
I hope that people can enjoy it too, as we
Thank
can.
Yeah.
you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
everything, Madalena. And we see you soon then.
Yes. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
See ya. I'm also dropping, and I guess
Yes,
Pauline, you're
we'll
taking it
soon.
from here.
Yeah, I'm taking it from here. Before we let Christian in, I just want to add 2 more things. The first thing is that the book, of course, as Madalena started to mention, has been made during COVID-19. So it impacted the project quite a bit. When the pandemic hit, we had 70% of the content ready. And we knew that if we were leaving the book as is, as it's a printed product, it would kind of be irrelevant already without talking about the pandemic. So we decided to rewrite it all. We decided to reconnect with each and every single space to understand how they were navigating the pandemic, how they were adapting. And up until the day we printed, we updated the content constantly so you can have the freshest version of Around the World in 250 co-working spaces, but also of the stories of the spaces featured inside. We also had at heart to involve our extended community, and we wanted to make a crowdfunding campaign because we wanted to put co-working everywhere we could. So we decided in January and February 2021, earlier this year, to make a Kickstarter campaign. I know some of you guys are backers, so once again, thank you so much for supporting the project so early on. But also thank you so much for your patience because we thought the book could come around May, June. But of course, because again of the pandemic, we had to navigate some production delays from ordering paper and having to wait over 2 months because Italy was in lockdown to then having some delays with the printing. It was quite a ride to bring this book to life, but we loved it and we learned so much, as Madalena and Dimitar were just pointing out, that we would probably do it all the same way all over again. And the last picture you see right here is actually Dimitar holding the first books we took out of the pallets we received in September 2021. Last before, and I'm done after that, but how can the book help me is a question that often people are asking us. Well, to wrap things up here, I would like to say if you are interested in co-working as a general topic, then the book will definitely help you discover the different shapes co-working can take. And I want to say, hint, hint, it's not just about startups and freelancers. Then if you are a co-working owner, or you can definitely get more perspective for you and your teams on co-working around the world and find some inspiration for your own strategy, your space, your community. And last but not least, if you seek to understand what kind of impact co-working can have on cities and on people, like we used to in 2015, then the book is definitely a great starting point. Without further ado, and as Dimitar said, there weren't so many, you guys were mainly commenting and not having questions so much right now. I would like to,
There's a question.
There you go.
It comes from Jose Antonio. It comes. Do we know any co-working spaces that closed down during COVID?
Yes, actually, recently there is a co-working space featured in the book from Canada who wrote me yesterday that they actually shut down during COVID, during one of the lockdown that came recently, so they couldn't survive it. So yeah, there is already 1 or 2 spaces, I believe, that stopped operating as a co-working space. Sadly.
Yeah. Also, I would point out here to our podcast that we started a 3-episode series. Now we've published only one that's called Life After Coworking. And this is the stories of people who had coworking spaces and they had to close them down and their story. And if you're interested, go listen to the first one because it's one of the most amazing stories for me personally, because the space was only 25 square meters, I think. And greetings to Anders if he is watching us, because it's one of the good friendships we formed through the years, and he has an amazing journey. He's an amazing person. But also there was like a company that was valued for 700 million that started in this small space, and really cool people. So many different stories about starting and closing co-working spaces, and this is the process of life, and we are just experiencing with this new type of places that exist and we're part of. So it's part of the journey. So yeah.